Good morning from Bangkok, Thailand. Hope you're all having an amazing day. It is rainy season here in Bangkok, so it's periodically raining right now, and I'm sure it's going to pour later on this afternoon. But today I want to talk to you guys about what basically happened over the past 50 years that got me to the point where I live my life now. And when I started this channel, I was trying to get an idea what to tell you, or what kind of episodes to have to benefit you guys to understand how we became financially independent, and also be able to retire early. And not only that, but also to live our best lives. And I think we're living our best lives right now. But I was having a conversation with my wife, and she was saying that I should talk to you guys about positive things, because she always mentioned that I'm a positive person, and I look at situations in life as being where the glass is half full, and she's right. I do try to look at life in that positive spirit, but it always wasn't that way. And today I'm going to fill you guys in on a secret that not anybody knows about. Actually, only my wife knows about this secret of how I became a person that looked at life as being a positive, I guess half full kind of guy. And so let me go ahead and get started with before I met my wife. I was working in Silicon Valley, California, and I was an executive recruiter, basically what they call a headhunter. And I would help to find people for corporations in Silicon Valley, tech companies, to hire for finance and accounting positions. I think it stopped raining. Let me go ahead and shut this umbrella. And so when I was working out there, I had just a typical job, sales job. I was, making good money. I had my one-bedroom apartment, and I was living the typical life, right? Just basically going happy hour after work with the colleagues, going out on the weekends with maybe some friends and colleagues, going out. We go out, have sushi, we go out to have, hibachi, we go out, and basically, go out for drinks and go clubs. Yeah. I was living the typical bachelor life, and for a while there, I was wondering, what the heck's going on? I was like, life is this all it is? And I was like not feeling, like I was, enjoying life, and I was, also smoking and drinking, and yeah, it was just I was kind of after a while bummed out. So, and of course, being young and being a kind of a smart ass, I also quit my job because we had a new regional manager, and she came in there trying to change everything. We were making good money and doing good sales, and she came in there and trying to change everything, and guess what? Everything kind of fell apart, and so all the money went away. So yeah, I was like, you know what, this is not going to work for me. She's affecting my income, and I'm not going to stick around for that. So like I said, being young and kind of cocky, I was like, you know what, I'm going to quit. So I quit. So here I am, sitting at home, jobless, also, smoking. I was overweight. Believe it or not, I was over 30 pounds to what I am right now. Yeah, so I was a big guy, and yeah, so I was overweight, smoking, and jobless. Yeah, and that's probably one of the lowest points in my life when it comes to my adult life. And like I mentioned earlier, my life was not always, the way it is now. But this is where I'm going to tell you guys how I overcame the situation and then became more of a positive person. And this, like I said, this secret I haven't told anybody except for my wife. She's the only one that knows this. And now, of course, everybody on YouTube is going to know the secret. But I'm going to first go ahead and grab a cup of iced coffee before I tell you this story. So stay tuned. And if you guys have been watching my previous episode, you guys know that I like to have iced coffee or also Thai tea down here. So I'm going to grab a quick iced coffee or Thai tea. And this time I'm gonna make sure to get a small, because last time I got a large and that was so large I couldn't even finish it. Okay, I got a small iced coffee for 25 baht. This still looks like a large. I think in the United States this would be a large, and most of the time the smalls are a little bit smaller than this. But anyways, if you guys saw my previous episode, I got a Thai iced tea, and the Thai iced tea was like gigantic. So I asked for a small this time, and this is the small, which looks like large. But anyways, I'm gonna come down here and have a seat and tell you guys how I turned my life around and how basically I'm now living the life I always wanted to live. All right, that kind of worked out nicely. We're out of the potential rain. Oh my gosh, and this iced coffee is good. Wow. Iced tea, iced coffee here from the street vendors, 25 baht. It's such a good deal. But now back to the story. So, like I mentioned before, I was, smoker, overweight, unemployed, living in a one-bedroom apartment in Silicon Valley with nothing going on in my life. And so one day I was sitting in my condo and watching afternoon television. Back in the day, you'd have Oprah Winfrey on. I think you also got Maury Povich, or those, those afternoon shows. And being that I'm unemployed, guess what? I get a chance to watch those shows. So I was watching the Oprah Winfrey, and the author of this book was Rhonda Byrne, and she wrote the book called The Secret. And at the time, I never even heard about this book, and I typically don't watch Oprah's, but anyways, just so happened that I was watching Oprah that day, and so I watched the episode. And after watching this episode and talking about this book, it's something just triggered, right? It's something just like, oh, this makes sense to me. For some reason, it made sense. And it really got me interested in this book, right? So I went down to Barnes & Noble's, which I don't know if there's a Barnes & Noble's anymore, but Barnes & Noble's is a bookstore, right? And you can go there, buy books and read books. And so I went down and bought the book, came back home, and I read that book from front to back. And I rarely ever read a book from front to back. And I read that whole entire book. And after reading that book, I just, like I said, something clicked in my brain that said, this makes sense. And I don't know what it was, but from that moment on, I decided to change the way I look at life. I decided to change the way that I looked at the world. And I decided to change the way I behaved in this world. And so a couple things that I did kind of test out the theory and kind of work my way into the book, The Secret, was later that day after I read the book, I went out to purchase gas at the gas station, and I went in to pay for the gas. And the young lady's working behind the counter, and she had a name tag. I can't remember the name. It was a long time ago. But I said, thank you very much, in the name. And she said, oh, you're welcome, right? And smiled back, right? And that interaction was very positive. I smiled, I said her name. She looked at me, smiled, and said, you're welcome, and, have a great day. And that, to me, right there, said a lot. Because if you think about nowadays, right? How many of you guys go around and you don't even recognize the face of the people you're interacting with, right? Whether you're going shopping or you're going to the restaurant and you don't even see your waiter's face, right? Or you go to maybe the airport and you don't even see the ticketing agent's face, right? I mean, how often are you interacting with people and actually recognizing the people you're interacting with? And chances are right now, it's probably not that much. Right? And just be honest with yourself, right? Because for me, I have to remind myself, like almost every day, when I interact in a social setting, am I seeing the people's faces? Am I seeing the reaction? Am I giving off a positive smile and reaction, right? Because the one thing about The Secret that taught me was the fact that we also can create our own destiny, our own future, right? And what I mean by that is, the concept of law of attraction is, right, that if there's good things out in the world that you seek, it'll come to you. But also, if you're seeking out bad things, the bad things will come to you. So whichever thing that you're seeking out, that will come to you. That's called the law of attraction, right? So if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time, guess what? Negative things will come to you. If you're thinking positive thoughts, positive things will come to you. So when I mentioned earlier that my wife said, you know, you've always been a positive person, and why don't you talk about that as a part of your channel? I didn't realize that until now, that that's what is important to get to the point where I am today, is to be in that positive spirit and attract positive things to me. I was single at the time, and I was like, I wanted to find a companion. I was ready to meet someone and get married. I was tired of being alone, right? And that's something I wanted, but at the same time, I was tired of going out to the, you know, clubs or bars or restaurants or wherever and meet some people on the streets. And, you know, my friends were saying, try online dating, right? And this is when online dating was kind of really starting to pick up, I guess, when eHarmony was available, also Match.com, and also Yahoo Personals. And so I said, fine, you know, I'll try it out. Oops, whoa, sorry, bumped the table. So yeah, so I got online and joined up for Match.com. And so one day I was, you know, sitting there Sunday afternoon around 1 o'clock, I think, a message popped up, and a lady said, hey, you know, interested in learning more about you, kind of thing. And I was like, like I said, I was in the frame of mind to say, you know what, if I want something, I'm just gonna go for it, right? So I was like, oh, fine. I said, would you like to meet for coffee? And then she replied back, when? I said, now, right? And she's okay. And so I said, okay. And so we met up that afternoon, and like an hour or two after I got the message, right? And we met at a coffee shop. And I went to the I guess the coffee shop date, like this, guys. I was wearing a hat, t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops. I went to a date like that, first date. And I said, if it's gonna work, it's gonna work. If not, you know what? And then so be it. You know, I was just taking it head on. There you go. And I met now my wife at that date. We had a wonderful conversation. We had a conversation, then we went to dinner after the coffee meeting, and then we went back to my place and had tea and talked. And you know what? That date that was supposed to be a coffee date turned out to be like a 6-7 hour date, that first date. So needless to say, we had a wonderful time. We had a lot in common, and you know, and she really kind of filled that kind of void in my life, you know, at the time. And yeah, and you know what? We met on 1 month, 5 months from the time that we met, we got married. That's how fast that happened, right? And you know, from that point on, my life has just been going in a more of just a path to where I am now. It's a wonderful path, and I've had a wonderful experience. I also got, when we got married, we got a house, and I got my first dog. I always wanted a dog. That's the one thing I always wanted, was to have a dog. And my wife found a puppy at an animal shelter, and we went and got a puppy and raised him until he passed away a couple of years ago, before we retired. And yeah, it's just been it's an amazing journey. And also kind of step back a little bit before I met my wife. I, like I said, started my journey of being positive, making changes in my life that would be positive, right? I quit smoking, right? I went out and got the patch, and I quit smoking. Also, I started exercising. So have you guys heard of P90X? Yeah, that's been around that long, right? I bought the DVDs and P90X. I mean, I was making an effort, right, to make a big change in my life. So I went out and got the, you know, the patch for smoking. I went out and got the DVDs, started working out, right? And started, you know, losing weight, quit smoking, and found a job, and you know, then we got married, and it's like, wow, everything was just happening within a matter of like half a year. No, year, yeah. Within that year, right, my life forever changed from that one simple thing, is a book, right? And so I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and I don't want to make the story too long because I can go on forever, right? So I want to make this episode to kind of tell you guys, you know what, it took me a long time to get to this point in my life, and it didn't happen overnight, and it just didn't happen by miracle. Well, I guess you could say a little bit miracle because I read the book, but that book kind of inspired me to look at life a little bit differently, and how I approach life, and how I communicate with people, right? Communicate with people with positivity, right? And a good spirit, right? Because guess what? You give positivity out, positivity come back to you. If you give positivity out and negativity comes back to you, go a different direction. Just get away from it, right? Seek out the positivity, right? And positivity will come to you. And I think that is one of the biggest things that has not only helped me to have a good life in my life right now and living my best life, but also it's helped me to, appreciate the life, appreciate what I have. And it's called gratitude. I have gratitude for a good life. So guys, I hope this has been inspirational and kind of motivational, and also kind of give you an idea of where I come from in my life that got me to the point where I am now, being retired and living my best life here in Bangkok, Thailand. And if you guys enjoy this kind of content, make sure to smash the like button. Also, leave a comment below. Let me know if you've been going through the same struggles that I went through, and if you have also gotten yourself into more of a positive spirit. Love to hear your story. But till next time, guys, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see ya. Bye-bye.